said, my name is Tim Taylor. I'm an ag teacher in Okmulgee. I was talking to Savannah and some of the others. We could do a whole workshop on my before and after and my journey with Okmulgee. But in a nutshell, Okmulgee started as an NFA chapter back in 1951. And eventually when Okmulgee integrated in, I think they were one of the last high schools in Oklahoma to integrate in like 79 or 78, which is crazy, in my opinion, to think about it took that long. So in 1965, we all know that NFA, FFA merged, and so we became Okmulgee FFA in 1965. So we have two charters in our classroom, which is kind of a cool thing. So this is our 70th anniversary this year. Went along until about 2011. They closed the program down. There was budget cuts and some other issues, and so the school district decided to shut the program down, and basically just locked the doors of the ag building and left it sitting for 8 years. And then when I was doing my student teaching at Bixby, I got a call. The superintendent wanted to see what it would take to open the program back up. What are some of the steps, what are some of the things that they would need. And so Mr. Shoulders called me, and then we went down there and toured the place. They took me to the nice football stadium that has a turf field, and they took me to the baseball stadium that has the nice lights and the nice stadium. And then they took me to the new band room they just finished, or they were currently building. They hadn't even had students in there yet. And so all this cool new stuff. And then they're like, you ready to go see the ag building? And I was like, sure. They're like, don't be scared. I'm like, what? And so we went down there, and yeah, they were right to tell me not to be scared. But basically, this looks really nice. This is my building. We just have this one building. We have like a lean-to greenhouse, and then we have a bigger 30 by something greenhouse. And they just literally, it felt like they went in and just locked the doors and just left it. Which on one hand is great because all the welders and some of the equipment and stuff that couldn't walk away or be absorbed into the maintenance department was still there. We had the greenhouse and we had a facility, so we weren't starting from scratch. But there was a lot of work. And so I was hired in the spring of 18, and basically that first semester I didn't have students. We just basically renovated that facility. And so we had to paint and replace walls and redo the bathroom and do different things. And then in the fall of 18, that's when we started the program. And so the program had closed for about 8 years, and so nobody in the high school or nobody in the district was familiar with what FFA was. Let alone, just ag ed. And so when we talked about contests and, leadership conferences and different stuff like that, they're like, wait, what? Why do we have to wear this scratchy jacket? Or, no one had a jacket. And a lot of different things. The community knew about FFA to a certain extent because some of the other programs in the county are really active and have great programs, but the kids and the parents within the school didn't. So I had a challenge. Not only did I have to recruit kids and promote my program to within the school, but I also had to gain some support from the community in order to help fund some of these things. Because at this point, since they closed the program down, they forfeited their 412 money. And so we weren't getting ag program funds from the state. And so the district had to, burden those costs that first year, or I had to fundraise. I had to fundraise most of it. But the district was really helpful in the fact that they redid the greenhouses, they reglazed them, got the greenhouses up and ready, and there was some equipment that they got me basic hand tools so that we can, we had a drill, we had a circular saw, stuff like that. But the rest of it was we were still in a growing process, and so marketing to the community. Reaching out, telling people, hey, we're back, FFA's back, ag ed's back. It's not VOAG, it's ag ed, we're back. I'm sure a lot of you face that challenge back to the school. I think someone said they had that challenge yesterday in a workshop. Still, when the maintenance department delivers my packages, they write Tim Taylor, VOAG on there. And I'm like, come on. But old habits die hard. It's been 30 years, but, whatever. Anyway, so there's a little more than I thought about talking about myself, but so a little bit more about me. Restarted the program there in Okmulgee. within the couple years, last year we got a national 3-star chapter. And so it's because I believe the way we marketed, plugged into the community, met the kids where they were. My kids there, our school demographics are a third African American, third Native American, mostly Muskogee Creek Nation, and then third everybody else. 100% free and free breakfast and lunch. And so we have poverty in our community. Most of the kids live in apartments or tribal housing, or they live in town. No one really lives out in the country. I have one kid that has a pig. It's a potbelly pig. It lives in the backyard, but it's not a show pig. And so, and personally, I enjoy that aspect. It's a more urban type program. Not have anything against livestock. There's a lot of skills to be gained there, but I feel like we're doing just as a good job reaching these kids where they're at, because everyone's got to eat, everyone's got to go to the grocery store, and so knowing, the front end, like knowing about animals, knowing about horticulture, things like that on a smaller scale, maybe in their backyard, is just as important. So within that 2 years, we became a national 3-star last year, the first time since 1974. So our chapter's only done that twice, and so we were pretty excited about that, and so we tried to promote that. So I'll talk more about that in a second. And then I'll preface all this to say I've only done this for 3 years, so a lot of you have taught longer than I have, and so what I have to say isn't very revolutionary, or if you're a Friends fan like Phoebe, this is not brand new information. It may be stuff that you're familiar with, but it doesn't hurt to maybe see it from a different angle, show you how I've handled it. So, why are we here? To practice brotherhood, honor agricultural opportunities, responsibilities. Just kidding. Okay, so when we think about ag teachers, you all have lots of hats. And that's probably why a lot of you like this job, is you're not doing the same thing every day. You're not doing the same, even from day to day, but year to year, you may not be doing the same thing. A new group of kids have a new group of interests, so that leads your program in a different direction. All our programs are different. So I just wrote down a few of the jobs that you may have as an ag teacher. Some of you are parents yourselves. Sometimes you may feel like a parent to some of these students. Some of you are the veterinarian, you're the cheerleader, you're the bodyguard, you're the travel planner, the grant writer, the logistics coordinator, personal stylist sometimes. How many times have you had to tie a tie at a speech contest or something? So you have all these jobs. There are some in here that I feel like, as far as marketing to your community, if you lean on these, you may be able to help yourself out with some of the other jobs. So let's see. So like social media specialists, that could be that's one of the more important aspects nowadays, especially in time of COVID, when you can't get out and shake hands and do different things. Being a photographer, a journalist, and a graphic designer. So those are some of the hats we're going to focus on. So as far as marketing, what I'm talking about is not necessarily trying to sell a product, even though we're trying to sell our programs, right? We're trying to market our students and their success. But we're going to the way I talk about it today is going to be ways you promote your program to your community. And so we have 3 main ways that we do that: in person, online, and in print. Or physical, I guess, is another way. So what is this? Shopping cart, but more specifically, squeaky wheel, right. So what do they say about the squeaky wheel? Right, the squeaky wheel gets the oil or gets the grease, right? With the overarching important part about marketing your program is if no one can hear you or if no one knows you're there, they can't help you. If you don't ask for help, you don't give them a chance to say yes. If you don't make a little fuss or shine your program, no one's going to know about it. And so we have to be our own advocates for our programs. I know at this point, and some of the new teachers you may not know, but when you walk around, when you go to Walmart, you're Mr. FFA or you're Miss FFA or you're Miss Ag. And so you're always, no matter where you go in the program, people are going to realize hey, you're the ag teacher. And so that's great for in person, but how do we broaden that out to be online and in print to where you don't have to do that all the time? So why is it important? Especially when you're wanting to have your chapter fundraisers. If no one knows you're selling blue and gold, then you're not going to sell any blue and gold. Although I keep telling the kids, it sells itself. You just hand people an order form, they'll hand you money. It's like that meme, give me your money, whatever. Or here's my money, take my money. As far as a booster club or support club, your alumni group, I think somebody talked about communication yesterday in one of the workshops. Communicating, you can't over-communicate. Giving people, like, hey, we're having this activity on this day. We're doing this fundraiser during this time frame. Letting people know so they can help promote your program, help promote your activities. If you're making these connections with your community and you're marketing your program, then you can also potentially land some placement SAE opportunities. So if you have a student that maybe be interested in working at the feed store or working at the processing plant or whatever, if they know if this is something that they can use for an FFA activity or use as part of their SAE, then they may be willing to let that person come work for them part-time or whatever. So just increased awareness and may help with your SAEs. And then when you're talking, especially a few years ago when we were talking budget cuts across the board in education, if your program wasn't out there showing itself off, promoting itself, it's kind of hard to, it could be easy for a school board to say, hey, well, let's cut the ag program. We don't have money, so we're going to take ag program and keep the band program, or basket weaving, or whatever the other program is. Promoting your program allows you to say, hey, we have community support. The community's behind us. We're doing things. Even if we're not winning all the awards, the kids are learning when they come to class when they're doing these things. And so creating that base of advocates on your behalf. Also may be helpful when the next bond issue comes around and you're trying to solicit support for people to help vote for that bond issue so you can have the new greenhouse or new facility. And then above all, just promoting your kids. If you have a kid that's doing a unique SAE or doing a cool agri-science fair project or just had an aha moment in class, if you're taking a picture of that, taking a video of that, sharing that on Facebook or Instagram or in the newspaper or whatever, being able to promote that is important. Be their cheerleader. Okay, so currently, are you being seen or heard? And so how many ways are you currently promoting your program? So we're going to do a workshop, you turn to your neighbor type thing. But I want you to just talk to a neighbor. You don't have to write anything down. But how many platforms or outlets are you currently promoting your program? So think about, both online and in print, how are you promoting your program currently? Or how have you seen programs been promoted if you haven't been in the classroom yet? So take a few seconds and do that. Oh, and then when you're talking about that, how have they been effective? Have you gotten a good response? Okay. I'm going to try to capture some of this because I want you to because this is the whole point of us trying to learn something. And so I want to learn from you guys too. So what are some of the platforms, some of the outlets you guys are using? So just somebody. Newspaper. Facebook.
Instagram. School website. Radio.
Who listens to the radio?
Dangerous as it might sound, my officer did a TikTok page.
TikTok, okay.
They haven't posted anything yet.
Okay. What else?
We were in my AgCom class. I did TikTok Fridays, and they had to be school appropriate, obviously, but it was about ag awareness. So they were supposed to have some fact, and they could post it on their personal TikToks, and the best group got a Sonic gift card on Friday. So
Okay.
But it was, we had some that came back and they were not school appropriate and they got in trouble, but just something to get it out there on TikTok too.
Okay. What else? Anybody else?
Flyers on local businesses.
Okay.
We had a news report done about one of our events. Yeah,
On TV, we were on TV.
Okay, so I'll just put TV.
a newsletter.
Newsletter, I like that.
Marquee signs.
Okay, I'm not French. How do you spell that?
Ours is Facebook as well, but I always make sure to share it in like our community group page. So we have like an Everything Here page, and I always make sure to share it there.
I use the Remind app quite a bit.
So is that just students and parents, or is that?
So I have a booster club Remind, and then I have a class Remind, and then I have an FFA Remind. And
You
then
have
that way, if
challenge?
it's just class stuff, I just send it to the class that needs it, and then, yeah.
Do you have challenges with people saying they don't get your reminds?
That's on them if they don't check it.
We use Canva.
Because I use it often enough
Okay.
that they know.
So
they
do I,
need
but
to.
I get a lot
Yeah.
of them come back and say, I never got
Yeah.
it, so.
Edmund did a
It's timed to my
Podcast.
kids' text.
Podcast, I like
So
that.
it just texts them. So.
We would all of our student taught used group a lot.
Okay. Is that everything?
civic organization,
So just word of mouth? Yeah, okay.
going to, doing presentations at civic organizations. Lions, Kiwanis.
Last school I was at, anytime we'd win anything, I'd take them to the school board meetings.
I like that.
You could mail invitations to events. A lot of the elderly like to receive something in the mail.
I'm switching to green because.
I've left flyers that are co-ops and feed stores.
Okay. Awesome. This is a great list. So if you want to steal some of that, go for it. Some of this I am going to mention, and so it may be over or whatever, going over it again, but it's still great information, and that's stuff that you guys have done. And again, every community is different. The marquee may work for some people, but we have, well, I guess we do have a marquee, I guess, but we don't really have one in Okmulgee. And so, or if we do, it's way off the beaten path and no one's going to see it. We don't have TV in Okmulgee, but, well, we do have TV in Okmulgee, but not a TV station. The radio station, God bless them, I think is only on AM. So, and the local, like, live station, or the live part is for the market update at like 5 in the morning. And so, or 5 to 6. And so, like, normal, I don't want to say normal people, but most people don't wake up that early to listen to the radio on an AM station. So, good for them. Yeah, the TikTok could get a little messy. And some of you have no idea what I'm saying when I say TikTok. It's just another social media application out there. Short little funny videos, which can be informative. I've learned a lot on TikTok. I feel like you should get a degree from watching TikTok sometimes. But yeah, the stuff that I'm going to mention, there is some control that you have as an ag teacher, and so that's important because to be able to justify it, like, hey, I'm the administrator for this page, or whatever, if something were to go awry. So great job on that list. Come on. So as far as Okmulgee, this is kind of how. Well, I don't know if this. So a lot of the same stuff that you guys talked about: newspaper articles and photos, event flyers, brochures. My superintendent has a thing about brochures, which is great. But I guess she has a lot of people coming to her office wanting to know, like, how can we help, or how do we know more about your programs? And so she likes to just hand them a brochure. And so even just throwing a brochure or a quick fold flyer type thing together. Vinyl banners, we'll talk more about that in a second. And yard signs or billboards. Or if you have a printing press, you can use that too. Just kidding, that's a joke one. Social media pages online. So the ones that you could have, most popular, we talked about most of these, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Your website, either your AET website that AET creates, you can create it using information from your AET account, so your calendar, your photos, things that you're already doing on AET. It could be a website, or a lot of you have your school website, or you have your own website that you guys create. So. And then as far as in-person, your community events, so everything that you do, the fairs, festivals, parades, yada, yada, yada. funerals, whatever. And then any service projects like your trash pickup or disaster relief or whatever. All those are great opportunities to promote your program in person. So yeah, and I will say I will share this with Mason so that he can put it in the collective drive that we're putting together. So you don't have to feel like you're scribing all of it down. But okay, so this just very broadly, we're going to go into detail, or I'm going to show you some examples of what we've done at Mulgi. So as far as the newspaper, first thing I did, my degree from OSU was in ag ed and ag communications. So I knew a little bit going into it, the writing, photography, graphic design sort of stuff. And so first thing I did was go find the newspaper guy or the newspaper editor at our local newspaper. Most of you have a newspaper, even if it's not in your community, it's in your region, your county, or something. A lot of them, especially including Otmogi, have went to a bi-weekly, twice a week paper or once a week paper, if that. I grew up in a town that had a daily paper, so that was nice. But to go introduce yourself to the editor, say, hey, I'm the ag teacher, or if you've been there for a while, like, hey, remember me? I'm the ag teacher. I also like to take my reporter down whenever we have officer elections, after we have officer elections, so that they can put a face to the name, like, hey, I'm going to be sending this kid's articles to you periodically. Can you, whatever. Most of the time, the newspapers are going to print what you send them because it's good content and they want to help the program as well. I've never ran into an issue where someone's asked for, they've charged us to send stuff to the newspaper. Usually, they're pretty good about publishing the school things. I also invite, he's on my email list, so every time I send out something about any event we're doing or anything really, I invite him or one of his journalists to come out and cover the event. We also have our reporter taking pictures and things, but some of the times it's good to have them there because then they can get in the paper quicker, or they like to use their own reporter, their own photographer, stuff like that. He came to our banquet, covered our banquet for us for free. We fed him, and we got really good pictures out of it. And I didn't have to worry about taking pictures at our banquet because he took care of it all. So he's one of those. Your newspaper reporter is one of those people you should take care of because they, in my opinion, will help you out. Benefit of the newspaper is it reaches people of older audiences, more traditional audiences. So people that aren't online, they're not going to see, if they, maybe they don't get around town, so they're not going to maybe see your marquee message. They're not going to get the texts. They're not going to see the TikToks. But they're going to read the newspaper because they're going to look and see who died, right? They're going to try to figure that out, right? They're going straight to the obituaries. And so that's who you're going to reach that. The added benefit of it, it's an archive of your program. You take that, you parlay it into the office or the reporter scrapbook contest at the state convention. You follow that program to where you can have your reporter enter that contest. You have an archive of your year. I'm a history buff. That's one of the things that drew me to Otmogi is all this history about the NFA and different things. And so looking through old pictures and old documents is really cool. And so one of the first things, since we restarted the program, we've made sure we made a scrapbook every year. And so from here on out, they're going to future students are going to be able to look back and say, hey, what is ag like back in 2020? It sucked. Just kidding. You're going to have a historical program, and your kids are going to cut their pictures out and put them on mom's refrigerator, or kids always like to see their picture in the paper. I like to see my picture in the paper. So. I've also heard people get a subscription and have it delivered to the high school. Like a lot of times your high school will get newspapers to put in the library or whatever. We did that until COVID happened, and then they quit delivering to the high school because no one was there. And so I ended up, I already had a subscription delivered to the house, and so I just make sure you save the newspaper. The other thing that we did this year, especially with COVID, is trying to reach people, and we had a little more money in our account this last year because we didn't spend it going to state convention and different things. We did some outdoor signs. I don't know. There are some like statewide places you could go. We just used a local company within our county that prints up some signs. I'm sure there's somebody with a vinyl print shop somewhere near you, or pretty close by. The neat thing about these, like the yard signs we used for our plant sale, we made them to where we could just put stickers on the dates because we knew we were going to have it in April from 9 to 2, but we didn't know, like we want to be able to reuse a sign every year, and so we just left that blank. And so those were kind of an investment. They're a little, I was going to look those up. It's cheaper than you think to get stuff printed like this, and it's, as you can see, it's there. It's printed. It's not going to go anywhere anytime fast. So when we had our National 3-Star chapter, we tried to make a big deal about it at convention. Of course, convention was virtual, and so we put up 2 of these signs. They were about $80 a piece, front and back, full color. And we put one in front of the board office, the school board office, and we put one in front of the high school during National FFA Week. We did a whole blast on Facebook and Instagram, promoting that we got the National 3-Star chapter first time or second time in our history, blah, 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 right? And now we have those hanging up. We have one hanging up on the fence outside our ag building, and it's going to stay there until it falls off. And then we have the other one we're going to try to build kind of like what they have here in the hallway, like some sort of history type thing where we can put some of the banners and plaques as we, we get them. And then the other thing is these vinyl banners. Our ag boosters did one for their pie auction, so they just tie it out front the day of the auction so people know where to go. And that seemed to work. And we did this during FFA week as one of our community service projects. We wrote thank you notes to the healthcare workers during COVID. And so we put these out in front of the hospital, and so they got to see those as they drive by. It's not rocket science, but it's something, to me it's better than seeing all the political campaign signs everywhere, right? It's something to break up the monotony. Yes?
We incorporated the yard signs into a fundraiser where the signs actually say we support such and such FFA, and sold them, and people put them in the front yards.
That's a great idea.
Put them in their windows.
That is a great idea. I love it. So that's what we've done with yard signs. The other thing, and the internet's down, or I'd show you, if you're running a social media, which you should, you got to reach people where they're at. And so I'll talk more about specifically which ones that we use. But one of the tools I use is Canva. Being an ag comm, I know how to do like Illustrator and InDesign and all the fun stuff. But when you're wanting just to put a quick graphic together, I go to Canva. Templates are already pre-made. You can edit them. You can upload the FFA emblem. You can upload your own photos, all the stuff. If you want to see more examples than what I have in the next slide, then you can look on our Facebook or Instagram. Yes?
You can get on there and you can get an educator account, and all you have to do is like scan in your teacher certificate, and premium is free. Yeah. So you can be the educator and you get all of it for free. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy.
You know what I'm going to be doing?
Yeah.
Because I've been paying $13 a month. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so great. How many of you are using Canva or have used Canva? Awesome. Because I first learned about it when I did an internship with Texas Wheat, and it was my AgCom internship, and I felt like I was cheating. But I'm like, that's what they're doing. They're not using Illustrator. They're not using InDesign. But anyway, I love it. It's great. You can throw stuff together real quick. Anyway, Canva. I was going to do a demo, but the internet's down. But here are some examples that we've done. Again, this is on our Instagram page. But reminding kids to take photos of their SAEs in the summer, because for a lot of them, if they're mowing yards or whatever, it's only in the summertime. Take some photos. Promoting our meetings, chapter meetings, Ag Boosters meetings. I may post this a couple times before the meeting. May send it out in a text, whatever, or in a group me message or something. Just a quick graphic. We did a thing when the census was going on, so trying to promote the census, people filling out the census. So any special event, special project you're doing with your National Chapter app, you can use that as well. So we uploaded, National FFA has the emblem and all sorts of file types and colors. I should link to that. That'd be a good idea. So they have the full color. They have white, gray, white, blue, and black. And so I uploaded those, and those are great to use. And then like any holidays type stuff, you know, we promote, like everyone posts like Happy Memorial Day or Happy Veterans Day or whatever. You can create posts for that that's specific to your program. And then we're not going to do that because we don't have it. Okay, so we have Facebook. I created that when we got there because they didn't have Facebook. Did they have Facebook in 2008? I don't know. They did? Okay, sorry. But it was probably, okay, so anyway, I'm not trying to, okay, anyway. We didn't have an FFA Facebook at that time. I'll just say that. So I've never been in the situation where you're trying to take over the account from another ag teacher. So if someone else has suggestions on that, I don't know. I think it's just as simple as switching the admin privileges, you know, but I don't know. But if you have never created a Facebook page, there's some things to consider when you're thinking about how to be on Facebook. There's three main ways, and I've seen chapters do all three. If you create a profile, that's what you have as a user on Facebook. So that's you have to be added as a friend. You have to add friends. When you post something, it only goes to those friends, unless you kind of make it public, I guess. But you can't advertise. You can't. There's some limitations on what you can do as a personal page. If you're a profile. If you're a page, that's like a business. That's what most people use, and that's what I would tell you to use as far as marketing to the outside group. If you're just disseminating information, you need to do a page because you can have different administrators, people on that account to help post things, help edit content, help answer questions. One thing, like when we do like a Facebook Live during our plant sale, people will be asking, "Is this plant still available?" I have one of my parents that's a moderator on our page, and she's able to comment as the page on the Facebook. Yes, we have this, or whatever, because I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So you get likes versus friends, right? And then no one has to have permission to like your page. They just like it, right? So anybody, anywhere in the world can like your page. And then you can do advertising if you wanted to get into that. And then a group, we don't have this, but I've seen it done. Oh, okay. We've done this. I've seen this done where you create an FFA group. So like that's for like your parents and your ag boosters, or maybe your students that are on Facebook, where you can just post, "Hey, we're meeting in the ag building, 5 o'clock, watermelon social," whatever. Or, "Hey, we're leaving for alumni camp at 2 o'clock tomorrow." That stuff you don't need to really post out to the world because most people don't care when you're leaving, but your group may like that. So those are three different categories of Facebook. I do add, my reporter isn't on Facebook, so I didn't add her on Facebook or add her as a moderator to our page. But generally, you need to post a graphic, so that's why we talked about Canva. Most of the time you need a picture or a graphic or something to grab people's attention, because if you just post text, it's easy to scroll right past that. Something to grab your attention is important. Okay, Instagram, right along those same pages. So Facebook is kind of an older audience. Most of my freshmen and 8th graders are not on Facebook, but they're on Instagram. And so okay, good grief. My Instagram went bananas this year with my 8th grade. Like, they loved it. And so they comment on our stories, they comment on our posts, they share it. I'm like, this is just talking about, graduation. Like, good, way to go, Levi. They got really excited. And I'm like, part of me is skeptical. Like, is this real? Are you really enthused, or are you sarcastic? But I'm going to take it as they're really enthused. So, and the cool thing about Instagram, if you post from the app, like from the Instagram app, you can share it to your Facebook, your chapter Facebook page. So you don't have to go to 2 places at once. So, one thing I learned this last year was Instagram and Facebook stories, kind of similar to like Snapchat stories. We use this like behind the scenes type stuff. So Facebook and Instagram, you may only post like once a day or once or twice a week. Instagram stories, it's okay to post like bam, 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 like multiple times within an hour or whatever. We do this like when we're highlighting stuff for our plant sale. I'll take pictures of everything, put it on our story. Or if a kid is doing something really cool in class, it's not really worthy of a post, like a big post, I'll just put it on our Instagram page and put it in our highlights for the shop or the greenhouse or whatever. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go past that. AET does have a website. Like everyone in here has a website for their chapter. You go into, I think, the profile and then over, and you can manage the website. So anything you guys are putting on your portfolio folder in AET, your calendar can be shared, and there's some settings you can manipulate in that. And so you have an instant website that you can send people to see pictures. You can share your judging card information on there. So if kids need to check, if they want to check their judging card scores, they can go on there as well. The only problem is it doesn't have a lot of customization. Like you can't really change much colors and whatever. It's kind of blah. But there is that. Your school also may have a website. Talk to your IT person. They probably are on buggy about it anyway. Community events. One thing I've learned from my ag teacher back home in Veneta, if you're not out there, if you're not seen, you're out of sight, out of mind. And so any of these events, I joked about funerals, but really we've served cookies and punch at funerals and just had an FFA polo, not FFA, taking over, stealing the thunder from the dead guy. But we were there and we were present and we served punch or whatever at that funeral. Any local event you want to be out there, even if it's just a parade or setting up a booth at the chili festival, whatever. Promote your program. Be there. Be where the people are, like Little Mermaid. Be where the people are. Okay. And it allows people outside your network, people you may not have reached, that are just walking around the pecan festival or the chili festival or the parade. They see your float, like, what is FFA? Little Johnny's about to be in high school. Hey, you should do that. Sort of things like that. And then service projects, again, not trying to, self-aggrandizement, but, just promoting the stuff that your kids are doing. Like, hey, you are picking up trash. You are ringing the bell for Salvation Army. You are delivering Easter eggs to kids, COVID style, on their front porch. Whatever the case may be, you want to capture those. It's also good for their scrapbooks. It's also good for your end of the year banquet pictures. All these things you're doing, taking pictures at all these events, and doing those. So if I give you a few things to take away, make contact with your local media outlets, whether it's your TV station, your radio station, or newspaper, or whatever. Even if it's the person like in the community page that's posting a lot, like they're the ones sharing all this stuff on Facebook, which seems annoying. Contact them like, hey, we have an FFA page. Would you mind sharing some of our stuff? And then we have a guy in town that does a lot of Facebook Live. He goes around to different businesses and does Facebook Lives every Wednesday and promotes businesses. And so one time we jumped on there, a couple of my officers and I, and we did a short little interview about the program, like what we're doing. It was in the fall, so there wasn't a lot going on with COVID. But anything you guys can do to tell your story, tell people what you're doing at this point in time. Use your program's talent by having your officers or your reporters, or set up a public relations committee, or maybe you have a Facebook or a TikTok team, whatever. They help them, have them create content, you review it and post it, whatever the case may be. And then, like we said, all your programs are unique, so find out what it is that is unique and promote it, and find a way to promote your program. Okay, and then this is where my joke came in. Be where the people are, and then vary those strategies. So meaning you may have to post different things to Facebook versus Instagram, or you may have to post different things to the letter you mail home about the pie auction happening in 2 weeks is going to be different than the post you put on Facebook, because the audiences are different. The full article you send to the newspaper is not what you're going to put on your Facebook Live or your Facebook story. And so varying your strategy for how that works is important. And I think that's it. Make sure you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, @OatMulgeyFFA. So, anybody have any questions?